Good morning, fancy meat computers. Welcome to Mechatronics 2 MP3 programming for Mechatronics. We are going to have a fun time in class today. Oh, did somebody dislike me already? Jeez. I guess they don't like synth tunes. Let's see. Chat rate. No, that's okay. Viewers are more important. Cool. So, there we go. Is this going to get recorded? It is currently in the process of being recorded. You ever have the thing where you're gonna sneeze, but then you're like, if I sneeze, I'm going to destroy everybody who's wearing headphones? Not pretty. So, anyway. Where was I? Yes! Mechatronics! Welcome. And congratulations, everybody, for having achieved entrance into the Mechatronics program. It's a wonderful program. I am a former Mechatronics person myself, as a matter of fact. I was a member of the second graduating class of the Mechatronics program ever, which should give you some indication of how ancient I am. But anyway, so, to MP3. Welcome to second year. Hopefully, we're going to have a good time this semester. We're going to learn C programming. This is a course in C programming. So, yeah. If anybody has any particular comments that they would like to direct towards yours truly, please @ me in the comment, and that'll bring it up in my display, because this is too many chats for me to go through. So anyway, so yeah. Mechatronics 2 MP3. This is a C programming course. C is the best language, but it's also the simplest, and that doesn't make it easier. So, it's fun. We're gonna have fun in this class. My primary objective is to teach you C programming. So, anyway, I am Mr. Nicholas Moore, Nicholas Clifford Charles Moore, if you want my full designation. I am a PhD student within the Department of Computing and Software. I have been for longer than I care to list. Hopefully this semester I will be Dr. Nicholas Moore, but we'll see how it goes. You look like me 10 years from now. Yes, and with eyes that have been dulled, and you can see my spirit has been broken by too many years in grad school. Because you can see it in my eyes. But anyway, we've got 3 TAs this time around. We've got Chev, Jala, and Aaron. These guys are going to be our TAs this semester, so that's good. C is best. Y'all, you know what? Here's a question, right? If Python is best, then why is Python based on C? Aha! Got you there. Are you expected to know any C programming background? No. So this course takes you from 0 to hero in C. You are expected to know Python because you are expected to have taken 1J13 or whatever that course is they've got in the new first-year program for the engineering students. Whatever, you're supposed to have done first-year programming, but we're going to build C up from your knowledge of Python. So you don't have to worry too much about not knowing C in this course that is intended to teach you C. Yes. somebody has the philosophical opinion. Each programming language has its place, and none are the best. I see I've started that debate already. But anyway, so if you're here, then you found the lectures. Congratulations. Which means you also found Avenue. Also congratulations. This is the way that the lectures are going to occur this semester, via YouTube live streams, which I keep looking over here because, like, I have a separate monitor that I've got all of the stats and stuff going on. So that's, if I'm looking off in the distance, that's the reason. It's just I'm checking my checking the feed. So yeah, YouTube is better than Teams. It's a one-to-many platform, which is what a lecture is, rather than Teams, which is fundamentally a many-to-many platform, which, doesn't make a whole lot of sense for this type of thing, in my opinion. But yeah, anyway. How do you even code in C? You'll see, so to speak. Wah, wah, wah. Generally speaking, to code in C, all you need is a text editor. If you want to get fancy, you could use something like VS Code. VS Code isn't too bad. But the problem is, if you get too fancy with the editor, C has this interesting tendency of bleeding into C++. So, people, certain IDEs are like, well, nobody really programs in C. But people do program in C++, so we're going to set it up for C++. So if you are actually trying to program in C, you can find a bunch of bits and bobs that don't necessarily match what you're trying to do. You'll see. We're going to take a C voyage. Yeah. So, it's interesting. In C, I don't really think of an IDE as being necessary for C programming, but, you may have noticed that I'm using a Linux environment here. When I'm, whipping up the example code and stuff like that, you'll see me just use a text editor in Linux and, compile it from the command line. This is, it's kind of like... Historically speaking, Linux/Unix is the IDE for C development. So, Anyway. What are we going to use for the... yes. So, with respect to, what you use, which is kind of what the point of the question is, I'm not going to require you to use any particular setup to program with C. There will be a few that we suggest, that we use in the tutorials and that sort of thing, and you're absolutely welcome to use what we use, because, that's cool. But if you have an IDE already that you're very comfortable with, and it has a plugin for C, then, go for it, We're not going to be picky about it. However, I'll say that, but we are going to talk about some Linuxy stuff, right? And that Linuxy stuff is going to require you to be able to get some level of Linux access. So we're going to make the Pascal server available to you guys if you don't have Linux natively, or you don't have, a sufficiently updated version of Windows to be able to have the Linux subsystem for Windows. We are going to have that, we're going to have the Pascal server so you can log in and get get a bash prompt and use these tools that I'm talking about later on in the course. But we'll burn that bridge when we come to it. When do we use C in industry? Well, you're kind of stepping on my toes with the first lecture. Actually, this lecture I wanted to go through the course outline, and we'll talk about applications of C when we start getting into the course material properly. But the simple and rough answer is anywhere that you have extreme memory restrictions, such as embedded systems, which might be an interesting application for mechatronics students. Also, generally, the biggest application of C is writing kernels, right? So the Linux kernel it's still mostly C, despite the fact that it's, it's like 30 years old now, something like that, the Linux kernel. C, and it's based on Unix. Unix is like the Unix operating system was originally written in C. The thing about C is that it's not a safe language, which means it's a fast language. So when you absolutely need high-speed application, C is the programming language for you. However, that also means that it's difficult to program in because you don't get a whole lot of type systems. Like, you basically, in C this isn't completely true, but in C, the type checker is a extremely lightweight presence. So there are like lots and lots of different classes of errors that you would find Python would prevent you from doing. C will not prevent you from doing them. C kind of adopts the Linux/Unix philosophy, which is read the damn manual. You are the operator, I am the computer. I expect you to know what you're doing. So, in C, you can certainly shoot yourself in the foot. Anyway, there is C, C++, and C#, but have I heard of D#, G flat, ascending C natural minor scale? Ah, that's a joke. Wah, wah, wah. All right. Yeah. Yeah, so that's good. I can see this is going to be a fun class. So, yeah, people have been experimenting with putting, languages other than C on microcontrollers, for a fair amount of time. And it, basically what happens is, like, in order to implement a larger language on a microcontroller, you have to make the chip bigger and chip bigger and chip bigger. And suddenly, like, it's classed itself out of and made itself more expensive than the, like, baseline production model microcontrollers, which, like, the cheaper they are, the more they're gonna sell, right? So the goddamn cheapest microcontrollers in existence they're going to be primarily C-based because C is a language that fits on really, really small memory sizes. And when you're designing circuits for production level, like, doodling around on, like, your desk with the soldering iron, that's one thing. But if you're talking about production level, you're going to want to minimize the amount of memory because memory is expensive, and you're going to, you'll want to buy the smallest chip that you can possibly get for the application that you're doing. Basically, you're one level up from a CSIC, and or an ASIC. Sorry, CSIC is, ASIC. You're like one level up from an ASIC. But anyway, yeah, it's in the overview tab on content overview outline. All right, so let's get into it. So, YouTube lecture, obviously. Avenue, lecture slides, gradebook, additional information, this document, assignments when they come out. We're going to use Piazza for anonymized class forum. So Piazza is a really cool tool. Basically, it's a question and answer site. This should be your first stop in the, somebody just enrolled. When you have a question about an assignment or something procedural or anything, CSIC, there we go. Please put that in Piazza, and we, the TAs and myself, will do our best to keep on top of Piazza and try to keep the response times as low as possible. So this is like your official Q&A channel. It's anonymized, so if you feel your question is stupid and would reflect poorly on your moral character, you can still ask your question without fear of social reprisal. So there you go. you can also ask questions not like privately. So if you don't want everybody to see your question, you can send it through Piazza that way as well. Generally speaking, the goal for us is for Piazza to be a faster response time than you would get by email. So hopefully that will direct email traffic to Piazza, because I know how things work. It's the economy of questions. Hello! The economy of questions is whichever method of asking a question gets the fastest and best response time is the one that people will gravitate to. So we are going to try to make that Piazza. Hello. Hello, back. Boink. There you go. So yeah, so that's Piazza. Very good tool. GitLab. So we're still working out a few of the details, but we would like to have everybody submit their work through the department's GitLab server. So if you go to gitlab.cast.mcmaster.ca, I don't know, maybe you guys are too new. Maybe they haven't set up your CAS credentials yet, but if they have, then you should have login access to the GitLab. So if you've never used Git before, don't worry, we'll teach you. Weird. Okay, well, just try copying and pasting, like, the text then, if the link is broken. Yeah, that's not the correct link at all. Weird. Sorry about that. I'll fix the link. Fix the links. Exclamation point. So, basically, have you guys ever used like Git or SVN or anything like this? Just a question. We're gonna have to get you guys trained up on it, I think. It's good because it's a really useful thing to know. Ooh, I'm gonna do a poll. Ha ha ha. Have you used Git or SVN before? Boop. We'll see how many people. Anyway, basically, what a repo is it's just like a directory on your it's a directory on your file system that synchronizes itself with a server so that you can, you know, add stuff to this you can add files and other things to your directory, you know, and then push that to the server, and then it'll show up on the server, and it's time stamped, and it's all very good and nice and clean. GitHub, yes. GitHub is similar, GitLab is different. But yeah, if you've used GitHub, you know what I'm talking about. So roughly 1/4 of the class has used this before. This is fine. How many votes I got? 73? Okay. Yep. So, don't worry too much about it. We will provide certainly sufficient instruction for you to be able to use this without knowing how it already works. All right, but this is how we're going to submit. This is how we're going to submit things, because like it's just much easier to manage than you know, downloading everything off of Avenue into local folders for us. Like, one of the things we're going to be doing with your assignments is we're going to be using software that we've written to do a certain amount of automatic grading. Theoretically, most of the stuff you submit will be gone through by a computer algorithm first to determine its baseline level of correctness. And this makes that process much easier. But yeah, there will be sufficient instruction that's coming. So, lectures. Lectures will occur Monday and Thursdays from 9:30 to 10:20, and on Tuesdays, such as today, from 10:30 to 11:20. We will be live streaming from the instructor's YouTube channel. Question: how would we be able to sign into GitLab? You have to use your Mac ID credentials. Your CAS login is your Mac ID login. They just have to keep it in a separate thing. So, yeah, there's a website for that. There's a website to reset the password. So, yeah. Anyway. Yes. So, if you're here, then you found the lectures, which is good. Tutorials. There will be no tutorials in the first week of classes. That means there are no tutorials this week. We are going to have, in addition to the two in-person tutorials, which have been scheduled by the registrar, we are going to be opening up an additional tutorial, which will be virtual, because there's a certain amount of people who are not able to come into campus for whatever reason this semester. So we're going to be having a virtual tutorial. That'll be happening on MS Teams. So, yeah, and Jala is going to take that one. Once Jala gets back to me about what her availability is this semester, we'll put up a poll on Piazza, and whatever the top ranked time slot is, that's when the tutorial will be. The tutorial will be recorded so that if you can't make it to that time slot, you'll at least be able to get it after the fact. Cool. Just like these live streams. This is a YouTube live stream, which means that it automatically gets converted to a YouTube video once it's finished. So, if you want to watch this lecture back, slower, faster, in 3 pieces, several times, whatever, it's up to you. It's on YouTube. So, prerequisites. I have to keep moving with the material I have to cover. So these types of like technical difficulties questions, I'm going to have to ask you to save them until after the lecture. I'll just start ignoring them because I have to keep going. Will a virtual tutorial cover the same thing as the in-person tutorial? Yes, of course. It would be way too much work to write 2 lesson plans. Why would I write 2 lesson plans when I could write 1 lesson plan? So, are the tutorials in this course the kind which have marked components in or after it? Nope. But you should still go to the tutorials. Like, often what I like to do with tutorials is have the tutorial cover like technical kinds of, nuts and boltsy types of things, like how do I install this? How do I get that? How does this work? That type of thing. That's normally what I use tutorials for. Although in the towards the middle of this course, it's going to be like reinforcement of algorithmic stuff as well. So yeah, it's like complementary. There is definitely going to be stuff covered in tutorial that's not covered in class, so it's worth your time. Is it just no tutorial for the first week? Is that for all the courses or just this one? So, my understanding is that it is a cultural convention. It's not like there's no specific policy that prevents a professor from setting tutorials during the first week. But it is generally standard practice. For the simple reason that many classes many classes don't even have their, like, a lot of classes are still hiring on TAs at this point. So, you know, it would just be a schmozzle. What do you do in tutorials? Learn. Watch, listen, learn, try out the stuff that the TA is doing. So in general, the tutorials are designed to be like live coding sessions. So the idea is that you have your computer and you're doing what the TA is doing on their screen, on your screen, so that you're learning. And if you have a problem with it, you ask. That's what the purpose of the tutorials are. Yeah. So, and the other beauty of a YouTube live stream is that if you miss something I say, you can actually run it back at, like, concurrently with watching this. So, so, prerequisites for this class. You should have taken one of the following: Engineering 1D04, Engineering 1P13, or IBEHX 1P10A/B. I have no idea what that is, but it's a prerequisite. Also, registration in the mechatronics program. However, there will be a certain number of engineering physics students in the class right now. Can I get a whoop whoop from the Eng Phys guys? Yeah. So, for the Eng Phys people, there's a specific subdiscipline, I think, called Smart Systems, that also requires reasonably heavy work with embedded systems. And basically the Eng Phys department decided to make this course a prerequisite to that program without, like, telling us. So it's not, like, officially in the prerequisites for this class or anything. It's like, you know, that's why everybody who's in Eng Phys had to get the prerequisite waiver form filled out in order to get in here. But anyway, whoop whoop. There we go. We've got one. There you go. Anti-requisites. These all of these courses basically cover the same material. So, so yeah, anti-requisites. If you've taken all of these, this is going to be a very easy class for you. So you should probably take something more useful. Course objectives. So this is what this course is going to be about. By the end, you, the student, will A. Acquire an understanding of basic computer architecture. B. Be able to program using the C programming language. 3. Or C. Deepen your understanding of how memory systems are used and implemented. 4. Apply this new knowledge of program computer memory to create basic data structures from scratch, including but not limited to arrays, stacks, lists, and queues. Understand the difference between static and dynamic memory allocation. That's actually a reasonably major topic. Be introduced to assembly programming. And understand the relation between high and low level memory and processor interactions. So, that's a specific requirement of this course, according to the Accreditation Bureau. We're going to cover not only C, but towards the end of the course, we're also going to have a couple of weeks on assembly programming. We're not going to do a whole lot of assembly programming. If you wanted to do assembly properly, you would do a whole different course on it. But we'll be covering enough assembly for you to be able to kind of get the idea of what the semantics look like. So, yeah. Yes. You'll also need to acquire a little bit of familiarity with Linux-like or Unix-like environments, and acquire familiarity with tools supporting C development. So there you go. Oh, is AJ a student rep? Ha! Well, there you go. Welcome, AJ. Everybody loves you in the chat, so there you go. It must be nice to show up in a class and have everybody go like, hey, it's this guy. Anyway. Does that add up to 110%? Hilarious. Okay, I'm going to down... Okay. Jesus Christ. Alright, that's got to get fixed. Let's see here. I shall decide, using my mystical powers, that the exam shall be worth 35% and the midterm 25%. And that should add up to 100. Publish. Publish, I'd say. There we go. All right. Sorry about that, folks. Pop. There you go. You got to see behind the curtain there for a second. So, tests. So, we're going to have assignments. All right? There are 5 assignments. The test is worth 25%, and the final is worth 35%. I know that you would prefer to have the exam 30%, but the exam has to be worth more than the test. That's just a rule. So, yeah. Not a strict rule. It's a rule in my brain, but those are the ones that matter. So, anyway. Give you the 10% is a lot, you know. 5% maybe. There'll be a few bonus marks on various things, but yeah. You think you're gonna get 103%? We'll see about that. Anyway, so assignments, sure. Completion of the assignments is essential to your success in the course. There will be 5 bi-weekly assignments. Late submissions will not be accepted, and the due dates are in section 4. Yeah. There will be 1 midterm test. It will be in take-home format and collected via GitLab. The test is open book, but collaboration between students on test questions will not be tolerated. You have 24 hours to complete the test. So, there are no marks for attendance. So, this is how the testing works. The test will open at this date and time, and close at this date and time. It's a take-home test, so you're allowed to use extra resources like Wikipedia and the C documentation and Stack Overflow. You are not permitted to talk to anyone or do any collaboration with anyone because it's a test, obviously. Still waiting to hear back from the registrar about when a good time to put the exam will be. So, anyway. So, you get 24 hours to write the test. You get an unlimited amount of time to write the test within that 24-hour period, but the test has a hard deadline. Hard deadline of 24 hours from the opening of it. And the exam will be in the same manner. So, oh my gosh, I forgot to talk about the MSAF policy in the last class in 1MD3. Oh shoot, I need to, falling apart. It's only the second lecture of the semester for me, and I'm already falling apart. Anyway, so, where are we here? Yes. So, extension and late submission policy. Using an MSAF for an assignment results in a 3-day extension. So you'll have 3 additional days to submit your assessment. Invoking the MSAF for the test increases the weight of the final exam by the value of the test. So if you can't write the test, you're going to write a 60% exam. Similarly to the exam that you guys were complaining about in the chat. And yes, it is. I agree. That's dangerous. So, yeah. If you MSAF the test, be sure that you actually did just break a leg. So, or break your spacebar finger or something. MSAFs have to be submitted in the usual place. For the final exam, standard university policy will be applied. That is to say, if you want to write a deferred exam, the normal policy on deferred exams is applicable. If you require an accommodation beyond the scope of the MSAF, please email me. I am not an ogre. I do have a heart somewhere inside of the vast vacuum-filled cavity that used to be a chest. But if you want more exemptions, I'm gonna probably ask you why. So you'll have to have an answer for that. But yeah. Basically, that's the MSAF policy. Is there any permissible collaboration on assignments, asking questions and such? Yeah, on the assignments, it's not so much a problem. Just, don't submit the same work. You are permitted to discuss the assignments with each other. Just don't submit the same, don't copy, Fred and Marjorie. If Fred and Marjorie have the same exact answers, that is still plagiarism. In fact, we use MOS, which is Measure of Software Similarity, to check for plagiarism among code submissions. So if you're a person with a deceitful heart and you're thinking about plagiarizing some of your work during this class, be aware that we'll catch you, because our software knows all the tricks. And so if you think that renaming the variables, for example, will mean that your work isn't plagiarized, then you got another think coming, basically. But yeah, you can talk to each other about the assignments, but, a test is a test. Even if it's a take-home test, it's still a test, right? But yeah, so anyway, so here's the course outline. We're going to do intro this week. Next week, programming in C. Then we're going to talk about version control. So we're going to have an actual lecture on the GitLab stuff that we are expecting you to use. I.e., discuss the problems and not the solutions. Yeah, basically. Well, yeah, you can discuss approaches to solutions, right? But if you guys, if you end up with the exact same code, then you obviously, it's obvious plagiarism. And exact same code means, exact same code as, MOS. So the way that it works is, we run MOS to pick out probable instances of plagiarism, but every time we accuse someone of plagiarism, we will have, of course, verified by hand that there is a demonstrable instance of plagiarism in this case. So it's not like we're just, blindly feeding stuff into an algorithm and then putting it out there without even looking at it, because we're not Facebook. So anyway, Unix and version control, functions and recursion, arrays, pointers. Pointers is if you get nothing else from this course, pay attention during pointers. Strings and file I/O, data structures, the C preprocessor, assembly, makefiles, profiling, and exam review. Probably this is going to be, the topics are going to be a little bit flexible, but not too flexible. But yeah. So, for individuals requiring testing accommodations. So if you've got an SAS accommodation, please get those in now. It's just better to know about them beforehand. But yeah, if you have a testing accommodation, please let us know. I'll say this up front and remind people, if you have a testing accommodation, during a test, that means you get an extension calculated on a 24-hour writing window. So if you have like a 50% time bonus, then you get an extra 12 hours. Oh, that's true. I didn't put pointers on the midterm. Might have to move the midterm. Haha. Well, we'll see anyway. I haven't written the midterm yet, so I can't say whether or not pointers are on the midterm. So let me talk about the textbook. Let me just grab the textbook. So, this is the textbook. C, How to Program by Deedle and Deedle, with an introduction to C++. It is a decent textbook, all things being considered. Just like C has not appreciably changed since the 1980s, this textbook, throughout its many versions, has not changed appreciably in a long time. Basically, the way they keep selling new textbooks is by sticking a few different chapters on the end of it that cover, like, C++ or something, or Allegro. So in this particular case, it's C++, but we're not going to cover C++, but, you know, there you have it. So, it's a good resource. The slides are largely based on it, but it's not a required. It's recommended but not compulsory. It's like, you know, money. It's like $80 on Amazon, I think. So, you know, if you want it, get it. If you like books, get it. Otherwise, if you want the C language reference, this is it. This website will probably be more valuable to you than any number of textbooks. So there you go. So, with respect, is there certain chapters you have to read each week? No, not generally. At the beginning of the lectures, generally speaking, it will blocked. What, are you not allowed to? Did they lock out being able to open new tabs now? Dumb. Basically, with all of these lectures, it'll say on the title page which chapter of Deedle and Deedle I pulled it from. So, so if you want to like do some supplementary reading, I would base it on that. But yeah, I don't have like posted weekly anything. Yeah. I'm a person who's thinking. You gotta think of me as an adversary. So yeah, getting assistance. Hit up Piazza first. The idea is that Piazza will have the lowest response time, so hopefully that'll work. Second, you know, you have TAs, you have tutorials. If you have a question, you can get the TA to answer your question in tutorial. Third, you can email the TA. And fourth, if all else fails, you can email me. I'm teaching 3 classes this semester, and between all of y'all, I've got, I think, on the order of 500 students. So, if I'm not getting back to you quickly, it's because I have 499 other students. Oh no, makefiles. Yeah, makefiles are good, though. Makefiles make things easier. Don't worry. By the end, I will have converted you, and you will think that makefiles are the best. So, automatic plagiarism detection. I already mentioned this, but we're going to be using MOS to detect plagiarism. Don't be fooled. Contrary to public opinion, a person's code is as unique to them as an essay would be. The argument, well, there's only one way to solve this problem anyways, will be dealt with the swift wings and iron zero-giving fist of electronic justice. Is there somewhere that says which IDE is used for this course, or the one that I use? No, because I don't use an IDE. My IDE is Gedit, which stands for GNU Edit, which is the Linux version of Notepad. So there you go. So yeah, plagiarism. You guys are second years, so you should know what plagiarism is. If you don't, read the policy. Otherwise, you know, this is a course with online content, so anything you post on Piazza can be seen by the Piazza people, obviously. You are expected to conduct. If you need an accommodation, you can email SAS. The RISO accommodation. So if you're, for example, Jewish and you practice the Sabbath on the Saturday I have the test, please talk to me and we can reschedule. Extreme circumstances, yes. Anyway. Yep. Boilerplate stuff. So, what are my tips to being successful in this course? Code alongside me or take notes on the slides. Generally, coding along with me is going to be almost universally preferable. The taking of notes is primarily used to reinforce the things that I'm saying, and also to pick up on the things that I say that aren't in the slides. But you know, like actually coding is like actually learning to code at the same time, which is like good. WSL, which I've never heard of. I've never heard about that before either. But yeah. Am I using proctoring software? The whole reason I do open book exams is so that I don't have to use proctoring software. But yeah. So, just very quickly, since we have a little bit of time, I will show you how to program a very simple C program. CD. There we go. So, if you don't know Linux, this is the Linux prompt. This is the bash prompt. So, teaching to MP3. I'm just navigating my directory structure. 20 examples. Gotta make that directory. Make dir examples. There we go. You could probably hear my my 5-month-old in the background, eh? His name is Felix. Oh, Windows subsystem for Linux. Okay, yeah, okay, do it. Do that. That's good. I approve. Yep, here comes the hello world. Get it hello.c. Include. Oh, I should blow up the I should blow this up, eh? I got a new computer, so all of my old settings have been blown up. We'll blow that up to 16 select. Is that better, right? That looks better? Hopefully that looks better. Include stdio.h int main printf hello world semicolon. Bring up my terminal. Open up a new tab in my terminal. Compile it. GCC hello.c out hello. Execute hello. Hello world. And I forgot the new line character. New line. Recompile. Execute. Hello world. There we go. Yeah, Felix like the cat, yeah. We didn't name him after the cat, but, you know, I was aware that the cartoon character Felix the cat existed when we named our son Felix. But yeah. So, yeah, the TAs will be explaining this in tutorial. Which platform to use, how to get it. You can also use, like, VS Code inside of Microsoft if you prefer. But I'm going to be doing things in Linux because it's also useful for you guys to see Linux. So, which is the symbol used for commenting? There are two comments. There's single line comment, and there's multi-line comment. Guess who's going to be forgetting the semicolons? Oh, you know what's worst, though? Is teaching a class on Python and C at the same time, because it's like, you have, like, in the morning, I'm using, like, from 9:30 to 10:30, it's no semicolon time, and from 9:30 to 10:30 on different days of the week, it's semicolon time. But, yeah. Why did you use int if it doesn't return a integer? Well, by default it returns 0, but I can return something. So in C, this is the main function returns the exit status to the rest of the program. So, like, if I returned, for example, -5, or let's make it positive, 76, and then I execute it. If I time verbose, no. No, okay. It's got to be in user bin. bin/time. No, list 2,000 possibilities. There we go. So you can see that the exit status that was returned is 76, which is, you know, that's a value that can be passed to other programs that can be useful. But yeah, by default it's return 0. Oh yeah, no, that's so the cout. Here, I'm gonna pull this over. So this guy, cout, this construction here, that's C++. So C++ is not C, so we're going to be doing C in this class, but that's the C++ way of doing it. What does include standard stdio.h do? It includes the standard library for input-output. So standard input-output library. That includes, you know, print statements, file I/O, all kinds of good fun stuff. Basically, whenever you do a C program, like whenever you write any C program whatsoever, you need to include stdio.h. C is a very basic language and will not include much that you haven't explicitly included. No functions get included in a C program unless you include them specifically using an include statement. No, I didn't name him after a YouTuber. We just liked the name. It was like we generated like a whole number, like a lot of names, and then that was the one that made it through to the finals and then was selected. Just like import in Python, yep. How similar are C and Java? In syntax, Java and C aren't hugely different, but in semantics, C, like Java does a lot more for you than C does. Can we put void inside? Yes, that's fine too. Void is implied, so, you know, if you leave it blank, it implies void, but you can also put void in there, like explicitly if you want as well. That just indicates that you're not taking command line arguments. Which Linux distribution am I using? I am using Mint 20. I'm living dangerously this time because I didn't dual boot this time when I set up my computer. This is pure Linux. So, is there going to be a walkthrough on how to set up all this stuff to code C and Linux? So, yeah, we'll be talking about that during the first tutorial. For now, if you're already running Linux, you're good. If you're already running Mac, you're good. Because with Mac, you can open up a bash prompt. If you didn't know that, now you do. On Linux, if you use the Windows subsystem for Linux, that's the best possibility. But if you use something like VS Code, that's also a very, very possible thing to do. Definitely a thing that you should take a look at is getting something where you can do that hello world that I just did and run it. Google around. I'm sure you'll find something you're comfortable with. But anyway, so that's lecture. So thank you very much, everybody, for attending. I'm gonna get some lunch, and yeah. Take her easy. Stay frosty.